Hello, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. I'm Alex Cuesta. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, December 12th of 2022? Before we get into all the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, give us 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth. Go find us on Twitter at Talking in Ovals, and I will be working on eventually getting us an Instagram page and a Facebook page, so we'll be talking about all that as well. But as always, with me, my awesome co-host, the man that everyone comes to hear talking, that's not me, Hyatt. What's going on, Dave?
Not much, just in a great mood today. We are in the last week of home renovations, so things are almost back to normal.
What is normal, Dave? There is no such thing, especially when owning a home, because you and I both know the renovations will be done, it'll be beautiful, and then the one thing you didn't focus on is going to be like, well, got to fix that now.
Absolutely.
So before we jump into our guest, we actually have some PRs, and we are assured that as of next week, we should be getting more and more from the high school level. So I'm excited about that. Again, everyone, send us your PRs. We want to give you a shout out. Runners, throwers, jumpers, even just people that casually run. Everyone works hard in this sport, and we want to make sure that you guys get acknowledged for what you do. So I just want to give a shout out. Nora White, Maris Red Fox. She ran a 16:59:05 5K opener over at BU, fastest freshman 5K in Marist history. So she deserves a big shout out right there. Sub 17 for
Congratulations.
The season opener. That's supposed to be the tune-up. And, you know, that just compounds on a good XC season. And then in the race walking department, which we've been talking about this high, we want to talk a little more about some race walking. Marissa Chiodo walked a 7:45 mile. She placed second over at the Wagner Invite. So really impressive. And also she's a Marist Red Fox. So Coach Chuck Williams, who I'm going to have on at some point because Chuck, you have no choice. But He's doing something really good there with race walking. He's been doing a really good job with the women's team there. So shout out to all them. Now, on to the fun stuff. Our guest today is someone who I've had the pleasure of talking to already once. He was gracious enough to come on my former show, Sports Opinions Podcast. When I told him we were starting this show, I kind of reached out to a bunch of people that were runners and everything. Was like, hey, would you be willing to come back on? Without any hesitation, I get a text back. Absolutely. And since then, he's had a pretty cool life change since we wanted to start the show. He's Khadevis Robinson. He's the director of track and field at Texas Christian University, TCU, for those that don't know. He's also a 2-time Olympian, 8-time USA champion in the 800 meter between indoor and outdoor, one of the greatest American 800 meter runners to ever touch a track. Coach, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm just excited to be back, excited to be on this journey and being able to help others, go after their dreams and try to reach their goals.
Yeah, and if anyone follows you, you have put a lot of Khadevisms, is what you call them. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Khadevisms. Khadevisms, and it's always something inspirational. And it kind of goes, when we last talked, you always talked about staying positive and all that type of stuff. And you were coaching at the time. You were over at Ohio State, and just talking about there. But now you have come back to your alma mater. You're at TCU, the place where you were a stellar standout runner, 2-time collegiate champion in the 800 meter, just fantastic runner. What was it like? What was that process of, the phone call, the interview process of getting back to TCU, and how special is it right now?
It's interesting because I think sometimes on the outside looking in, it appears that these things just happen in silos, and it's just a roller coaster. I mean, like a joyous ride, and it sometimes don't happen that way. It's sometimes it's tough, but I mean, to be able to come back to TCU, I've always thought TCU was a special place. I thought it when I went to school here. I'm from Fort Worth.
Okay,
TCU's my hometown.
Yeah,
and I had an absolutely amazing experience here. I think I hit the jackpot. Obviously, I met my wife here. I'm from Fort Worth. Had and have a great relationship with my college coach, John McKenzie, and also Bubba Thornton, who was the head coach at the time here, and then also Coach Stratton, who ended up being the head coach the last year, and then Coach Waters, who's over at University of Alabama. He's the coach that coached me my last year. And so, I just had a really, really good experience. TCU was totally different from my previous, environment coming from the south side of Fort Worth. And so it just, to be quite honest, it was something that I needed time.
So you go. Oh, go ahead, Dave. You have something to say. Go ahead.
So, was this always a dream to get back to your alma mater? And is it something that you ever thought would actually come to fruition? Or were you kind of just seeing what would happen in terms of where you would end up coaching? And did you think that you would ever get a chance to be a head coach at such a major program?
You know what? So to be honest with you, I wanted to come back. I wanted to coach at TCU, but wasn't sure if that was going to happen. The previous head, the coaches, we all know each other, right? So when, a lot of times you might know the head coach that's at a place that you would like to work at. So, you never really think about it in those terms because you don't want them to necessarily, you know what I'm saying? You don't want something to happen to them. And so,
Yeah.
so that you can get a position. But you always dream of, I think any coach, no matter if it's football, basketball, here at TCU, our basketball coach, Jamie Dixon, he went to school here at TCU, and also, the Rodini, the tennis coach, he went to school here. So I like to say, TCU is a really very good, unique environment. It's a family-oriented place. And so, you always want to come back to somewhere like that where you feel like it's really a positive environment and a place that you can call home, where everyone treats each other like family.
So talk about some of the challenges of going down and back to TCU because, you're in Texas, right? You have your neighbors. You have University of Texas, Texas Tech, Baylor, all really proud, really good track
A&M.
programs. A&M, all them down there. And, you're there. TCU is another major program. You ran in Texas. You know how serious Texas running is. Talk about the challenges coming in terms of recruiting and how that went and, what have been the issues of trying to battle with these major universities too.
I think when you think about Texas, you understand that track and field is huge, cross country is huge here in Texas, and so you do have a lot of major universities. But one of my favorite quotes that I have for life, not just track and field, not just competitive, but one of my favorite quotes is God doesn't stop making talent. God keeps making talent. Every day someone's talented is born, right? So there's enough talent, not only in Texas, but in the U.S. for everyone. I think what's unique that a lot of times people forget is that, every school is not for everybody.
No.
Like I happened to go to TCU and it was a perfect fit for me, but there's some schools that wouldn't have been a good fit for me. I mean, I liked being able to have conversations with my professors. My professors, like when I came back, my professors knew me. Like I wasn't just in class as some other just athlete that, you ship in and ship out. That wasn't the case here at TCU. I could have conversations with my professors. There's some professors that I was in the Department of Social Work. I was, I was a leader on campus. I was a vice president of National Association of Social Workers. Wow. I was on Intercom. I was House of Representatives. I'm in a fraternity. So I was very active on campus. And that was something that, at a school like TCU, it stays with you for the rest of your life because it's not a lot of people. Like when I was here, the enrollment was only 7,000, 7,000 to 9,000. Even now, the enrollment is only 12,000. Yeah. And so I feel like I was the lucky one because, I always say this, to go to TCU, you have to choose to go to TCU. Now, what do I mean by that? There's certain, in life, let's not keep it to track and field, but in life, there's certain places, environments, situations that everybody just kind of want to do it and be a part of it and do it and all that. And just like, okay, you're going to go there. Or, okay, I drive through here or I pick this car or whatever. But you really got to kind of choose to go get a Tesla, right? You do choose it because you say, okay, maybe the way that the panel is and you can see it, it looks like a iPad or maybe because, you're not have to spend money on gas. You got electrical. So you choose. It's not like I just go and grab another one. It's very unique. You make a choice. And that's what I feel about TCU. It's like most people who are at TCU, they actually want to be here. They choke because you have to skip over so many different types of schools to come to TCU. I've always thought I was unique. My name, Khadevis. How many Khadevis is there?
One and only, baby. One and only.
Exactly. So TCU fit me. And my friends I have some friends that I went to school here at TCU, 20 odd years ago, and I'm still close with them. And it's just, man, when you go places and you throw up the horn frog sign and you talk about the activities and the riff-ram, and I mean, just being in Fort Worth, Texas, and just everything that comes along with the environment in the city. And, our athletes, our student athletes, they really get to know the AD, the athletic director. But they know them. It's not fake. They really get to know the athletic director. The athletes get to know each other. And so if you really come here as a student athlete and you decide, you know what, I want to make an impact. I want to make a true impact that's going to last. You can do that here. You're not just another pod that gets on the machine and gets, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the thing that I noticed after I've coached at, I coached at an all girls Catholic private high school in Los Angeles.
I read that.
Yeah, man. Louisville High School, all girls Catholic private high school in California. I coached at UNLV. I've coached at LSU, and I've coached at Ohio State, and I'm here at TCU. And what I'm trying to say is, you can notice some differences. There are, I talked to my son about that. And as he's getting older, he's a freshman in high school. And it's like, okay, when you start to think about colleges, you got to think about something that's unique to you. Here's the thing. If you go to Costco and you buy one bottle of water, you can get out the machine for about 50 cents, I think it is, for a bottle of water, 50 cents for a bottle of water. Yeah. If you was to go to Walmart, that bottle of water might cost you $1.50, right? Yep. Now, check this. If you was to go to the corner store, it might be $2.50. Well, heck, if you buy that same bottle of water at the airport, it might cost you $3 to $4. And at a high-end restaurant in Monte Carlo, it might be $5. Now, see, what's the thing is, the water never changed. The water never changed. It's the same bottle of water. So what changed? The environment. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we place ourselves in environments where we're only valued at the mark of 50 cents. And we have to find ourselves and put ourselves in situations where we valued more. Most people won't do that. They want to put themselves in the pot and be in the same value of everybody else, or everybody that's a whatever star, whatever that stuff's supposed to mean. Remember, I didn't take any official visits. TCU was only the place I kind of took. I wasn't on a full scholarship. I had to take out loans and all that type of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is, some people they say, oh, this school or this place or this store or these shoes or whatever. Everybody like them. Everybody, and I was never one of those people. I was one of those that was like, okay, you know what? This place sees me as only a 1-star. I see myself as a 5-star. Absolutely. Or this girl sees me as a little skinny guy that don't have a lot of muscle. Well, this girl sees me as the most handsome thing around. And I was always big on putting myself in environments that valued me. And I think TCU is one of those places in which, even on the coaching sphere, I think TCU is one of those places in which you can go there and you don't have to try to fit in with everyone else. And you know it's unique. You know that, okay, if you went here, you had to pass up this huge school here and that school there and that big name there and all these people here and doing this there. You had to say, you know what? I like walking around campus and seeing some of the same people I've been seeing every other day, just like high school, a huge high school where when we have events, parents are there and everybody's doing potluck. And when you come back 10 years, you can walk into your professor's office and they give you a hug. I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Dave, could you imagine sitting across the table as a high school junior or senior and just having Khadevis give you that speech? Not only are you sitting in front of Khadevis Robinson, but now he's giving you that speech about the uniqueness of TCU as opposed to everywhere else. What else can you say besides, Coach, sign me up?
I'd say sign me up. Coach, I have a question for you. Do you see any correlation in the recruiting process due to the success of the football team? Like, do you find that that's becoming that's putting TCU maybe more on the map, and it's a place that might become more desirable for certain athletes? Because I know when I was in high school, people wanted to go to Penn State or Michigan because of the atmosphere at the games and things like that. Do you see any correlation in that?
I do, but it's a little bit different, because what happens with TCU is it's like this. As their football team's doing better, right? What it does, people will say, TCU, let me see what they're about. And when they look into it, they go, oh my goodness, it's amazing. And we've all done that, right? Not just with schools and stuff. We've done it with restaurants. So we've done it with, you might be driving down the street and you hear, you hear something on the radio, or you see something and you try it and you go, man. And typically, usually, think about this. Usually, those are the best spots. When you have a friend come in town and they say, oh, I heard this. And you go, no, go to this little spot here, because you know about those. So what happens, though, sometimes some of these places, some of these things, some of these clothes, some of these foods, they have to be put on the radar first. Because, and I'm trying to find the right way of communicating this. There are, you can go to a TCU football game and you can be standing next to someone and they can be prominent in the community, prominent in the world. They can be well off, and you would never know because they're not flashy with it. They're not showing. They're not trying to let everybody know. They're not trying to say, okay, because TCU costs this much, the tuition is this much, I have this, and it ain't showy. And see, TCU's like that. I mean, think about it. I mean, like if you look at right now, you look at our women's soccer team is finished top 10 in the nation. Yeah. Last year, indoor, our men's tennis was a national championship. Our equestrian is always ranked top 10. Rifle is always ranked top 10. I mean, so what am I saying? I'm saying like all these things and most of these sports are really good, but you wouldn't know because it's not flashy, right? So what happens with football, what it has done, it has put us on the map. So now people go, let me check this out. And then when you look into it, you go, oh my goodness, they have one of the best entrepreneur programs in the world. Oh my goodness. TCU's only about 20, 25 minutes from a major airport, DFW airport in Dallas Love Field. Oh my goodness. Within 15 minutes, you got, Wet n Wild and Six Flags. And then within a little small, it was voted one of the top young professional areas in the nation. But see, the football, what it allows you to do is people thought they look. And then as you look, you're able to look into it and say, okay, I see now. I mean, TCU's a great place, not only because it's a small Christian university, not only because it's in a major city. I mean, Fort Worth's like the 13th or the 14th biggest city in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a big city, certainly.
Yeah, but it don't feel like it, right?
No,
TCU doesn't feel like it's a huge city. And then you start naming some of the people, that went to TCU and ran TCU. I'll give you an example. You guys know track, right?
Yep.
So you guys know Asafa Powell, one of the greatest sprints. Well, I went to school with his brother.
Oh, wow.
His oldest brother went to TCU named Donovan Powell. Nobody knows that. And then you talk about Michael Frater. Who's running on the same relays as Usain Bolt. And I can keep going on and on and on. John Drummond. And so what am I? And that's just the name of few.
Right, that's the track. Look, Daniel Tomlinson.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on forever. I just named.
Yeah.
For the sake of track and field, I just named a couple, but I can go on. In the business where I can go on in entertainment, I can go with and all different. But I say that to say because it's not flashy. It's like when people do well, it's not like and it's hard to really put it into words. It's not like they go, hey, look, I'm this and I'm that. It's like, okay, when I was here one year, we was running and we was going to go up to a major meet. And before we went to the meet to run the relay, our coach said, hey, when y'all go there and beat them, act like you've been there before.
Yep, I love that.
And this is before we even ran.
Absolutely.
I've used it as a coach. Pretend like you've been there before.
Yeah. Yep. And so the thing about TCU is it's like you have these things and our alum. Man, I get excited because it's like my track teammates that I went to school with, just the ones I went to school with, are like some of the top business people. And the thing about TCU, it's like it has a lot of things that people don't know about. And so what football allows, it allows you to go up in there and then look at the other things that TCU has to offer.
Certainly does. Now, you're a guy that preaches positivity. You're a very positive person. Anyone that sees things that you say, the way you coach, you're all positive. But now you're a head coach here. You're at another major program. What are the challenges of, creating and molding great athletes, turning them into adults? Because I think we all know you walk into college at 18, you think you're an adult. You sure as hell ain't an adult. Creating adults, creating leaders, but also trying to get all these athletes to click into that championship mindset and have a little bit of killer instinct there as well.
People don't people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So the first thing is to let them know you really care about them.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, I've had my 15 minutes of fame. This is not about me. I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have won an NCAA championship, won some USA championships, make some Olympic and world championship teams and all that. So this is not about me puffing my chest out, trying to prove that I'm the best coach in the world. Really it's not. My goal here is to provide the opportunities and help student athletes like my coaches helped me, period. Right? That's what I want to do. I know kids that when they made the finals at conference, they started crying. Because nobody believed in them. Yeah. People told them you can't run Division I track. So that's my goal right there. So some of the challenges, this first thing is you got to meet people where so. That was a challenge for me. You see, I thought everyone wanted to be an Olympian. So here I am telling them about how amazing they can be, and this is how it's going to look. And when they make the Olympic team and all this, looking at me like I'm crazy. They're going like, dude, all I want to do is travel to the conference meet.
Right.
So, Coach, does it burn you up when you see athletes not working as hard as you once did, or not taking it as serious as you want them to take it?
I don't want to say it burns me up, but I want to say I used to couldn't understand it. Right. Now I can a little better. But before, when I first started coaching, it was I just didn't get it, man, because I was poor. Like, so track and getting an education was my own. I didn't know no other way. Like, I don't even to this day, maybe you can tell me this, how can you become successful in anything in life without working hard? Like, I still don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, if I knew it, you can't. So I'm like, if I knew, like, I'd be asking some people I know, like, how do you do? Like, how does a person become successful, massively successful, reach their highest potential without working hard? Because if you know how to do that, tell me. I will write the book and become rich.
Well, they can get there, but they sure as hell don't stay there. Some people do take the easy route. They get there for a hot second, but then they're gone. So it's like, if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not.
They don't maintain it. Yeah.
No.
Well, also it's like, okay, well, maybe you got there. What is getting there is one thing, and I learned this the hard way. Getting there is one thing, making the finals is another. Mm-hmm. Getting top 3 is another, and winning it is a whole nother level.
Oh yeah. So with some of your top athletes, I know this is an adjustment for a lot of high school athletes. What is it like telling a 1,500 meter runner, an 800 meter runner, guys, like, hey, you have heats. This isn't just all one race. Like, you have heats, and now you got to make it through heats, and you got to get to the finals, and then you have to run your best at the finals, most likely in the same day at these meets. How do you approach that with some of these athletes that are good runners, but it's like, wait a minute, I was used to giving it my all, and that's it.
You know what, to be honest with you, on the high school and college level, if you really just plug in and really just follow the program and the process and all that, most kids that's on a certain level can do that. I mean, I know it sounds, I'm telling you, man, like, listen, I'm gonna pose a question for you guys and watch this. When things get hard, most people do what?
Quit.
Okay, easy, right? We all know that. Yep. So that means you will beat most people if you don't do what?
Keep going. Quit. Push.
Yeah, if you don't quit, you will beat most people.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, it's the same. So check this out. Most people ice sometimes. Most people eat right sometimes. Most people work hard sometimes. Most people go to bed early enough sometimes. Get enough sleep sometimes. Watch videos sometimes. Do the right. So if you just do it most of the time, you're going to beat most people. I wasn't that talented. I just figured that part out. I looked over at people. Okay, they're not going to watch film. I watched film. They're not going to go to bed early. I went to bed early. I wasn't that good.
I don't know, Khadevis. The 143 says otherwise.
No, but I definitely enjoy your
but listen to me.
Go ahead.
But I want y'all to get this. I mean, seriously, think about this. Certain things are skill sets. Kobe Bryant said it the best. Right now, today, I can pick either one of you guys, and I can have you guys start to do push-ups. And if you do 10 push-ups right now, I can get you to 11 or 12 or whatever. See, that's the thing about most athletic stuff. We know how to get better.
Yeah.
But most people they don't want to put the work in. Yeah, sure. I probably was never going to, like, I don't know, be able to do between the legs 360 dunk. But you know what? I can do a windmill. I mean, I can't do a windmill, but I could train and learn and teach myself to get the skill set to do a windmill.
Yeah.
So what am I saying? I'm saying, like, we know how to get people better. We know how to get them stronger. We know how to get them faster. Like, we know how to get everybody. Everybody can get better, stronger, faster. All of that saying, I'm gonna get somebody to run 143. See, now you focused on the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's not in that space to do 143. The parable of the talents, and I don't mean to get religious or the Bible on you guys.
No, go for it, Khadevis.
The parable of the talents said, when the universe and God give you talent, the universe and God gives everyone talents and gifts. And the story that Jesus was talking about, he said one person got 10, one got 5, and one got 1. Now, why did they use that example? They used the example because we all don't have the same amount of talents. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter what talent you get or what talents you have. It just says if you got 10 or if you got 1, you got to do the best with that. You got to recognize it, develop it, multiply it, and share it.
I want to talk to you about the current state of American middle distance. Now, right now, you're obviously the coach at TCU, so you're seeing it up close and personal. You know, the NCAA, the best in the NCAA are going on to be our United States representatives and also in other countries. How do you feel the state is of American middle distance right now? A spot where you dominated for a little bit.
Oh, it's awesome, man. These kids now, I mean, oh my goodness. I said it about 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I'm glad I came out when I did.
Absolutely.
The guys who are out here now it's tough. I mean, you gotta be all in, man. Because you're talking about guys. See, remember, some of the guys that's out there now, if you take, the Isaiah Harrises, the Donovan Braziers, and all those guys. I mean, some of them was absolute studs in high school.
Yeah.
And I only ran 153 in high school, man. I mean, I didn't run that fast in high school. Johnny Gray, who's one of the greatest of all time, he only ran 151.
He was one of my absolute favorite athletes to ever watch. And
I'd say arguably, definitely still, one of our, if you're not he's not one of your favorites, I mean, you're not a middle distance runner. And you were a teammate of Johnny Grace for a little bit, weren't you, Khadevis?
Yeah, man. Johnny was.
You reminded me of him. Yeah, you reminded me of him so much with your running style, like went out early and just had that mindset, like, I'm better than you, so why would I even keep you in the actual race when I know that I could beat you? I loved watching you race. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
what the thought process was behind that?
What was it?
Okay, check this out. So when you train hard, right?
Yeah.
But you see, here's the thing. You cannot go out and do a 114, 115, 116, 142, 143, 144 if you don't train hard, right? So the rationale was, I know what kind of work I've been putting in. You got to prove to me you've been putting that work in. And see, if you've been doing it, then you're going to be there no matter what. You're going to be there whether I go out fast or I go out slow. But if you haven't, now you're going to be in some trouble. So it wasn't so much that we was going out so quick because we knew we could beat the other people. No. We knew that by doing that, we're slimming the fat. Now we're trimming the fat. We know that only about 5 people. So let's say you go to the trials, Olympic trials, and you make it nowadays it's different, but let's say you make it a 144.5 or faster race. Well, now only really, and sometimes only really about 5 guys can really run it, 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah.
So now you're not racing the whole field of 8 or a whole field of 9. You're only racing like 5 or 6 guys. Then how many of them can recover from the previous rounds and come back and do it? So now you're down to about 5 guys, maybe 4. And then it's a matter of who going to, not buckle under the pressure and get distracted, because a distracted mind is a defeated mind. Getting distracted by all the people out there, the tensions, the pressure, and all that type of stuff. So Johnny, what he taught me about kind of going out that pace and pushing that hard, it was really to get people to, others to think, okay, do you really want to hurt? Because it's going to hurt.
So
Yeah.
I have to ask because I think it's an interesting way to look at this because what was it kind of like when you were, running with Johnny and you were kind of the guy that he almost passed the baton to, right? He was the
Yep.
cream. He was the premier 800-meter runner. And then you in 1999 have your breakout and now you're the guy to beat, right? You perform pretty damn well for a solid 10, 11, 12 years. But then as you get closer to the end, you're now starting to fight back to Nick Simmons. You're now starting to fight
Yep.
back to Dwayne Solomons. What was it like taking the baton from Johnny Gray and then getting to a point you're now in your mid 30s and you're similar in Johnny's situation and you have these guys, especially Dwayne Solomon, who run a lot like you did.
Yep.
Would go out, run hard. Nick was a very different case because his closing speed and just pure balls were incredible. But what was that kind of like? And what were kind of the conversations when you were with these guys? And, obviously they respect you, but what was it kind of like? Were you a little bit nostalgic? Oh, man, this must have been what Johnny felt like.
Well, remember Johnny, myself, and Dwayne, we all kind of was on the same system, the Igloy method.
Correct.
Because I coached Dwayne for a while, and then Johnny started coaching Dwayne.
Okay.
So that system, we had the system in play that works that you can run for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Johnny and Dwayne, if you want me to be 100% honest with you, they was way better than I am. I mean, both of them are tall. Like I'm 6'1", Dwayne's probably 6'3" or so. Johnny's like 6'4", maybe taller. And they was naturally really, really skinny and thin. I was skinny because I was 800-meter runner, but I had a little bit more muscle than those guys had. And they were studs, man. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, those guys can run everything. And I was like, man, I was kind of like Kobe in the sense I had to develop my talent. I trained hard. But I trained hard because I had to. I couldn't. Dwayne used to liked I liked winning. So I trained hard because I liked winning.
Yeah.
But I didn't get up. I didn't like putting myself through all of that hard work and having to make all those sacrifices and ice baths and all that and being at the track. I think Dwayne and Johnny, they was on some whole stuff, right? And Johnny, man, listen. I was training with Johnny when he was 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I'm not making this up, man.
And he was still rolling. He was still running.
Johnny could have run 145 when he was 40 if he wouldn't have got injured. I mean, I'm telling you.
He was amazing.
Because he did a system. It's a system.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there's a system that works. But nowadays, it's a little bit more tough because everybody want to go on this internet and everybody want to do the same things and they want to believe the hogwash. But I'm telling you, even I can go from the men or women from the 1500s to 5K. That Igloy system works and it worked. And so as I was getting older, I mean, remember I retired at 36 and I still was running 144 low.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. When you retired, it was kind of like in my head, I'm like, just give me one more, Khadevis. You could get these guys. Give me one more championship. Give me one more Olympic trials. Like I remember being such a big fan of yours. And I was like, come on, you're right there. Dwayne and Nick aren't like you can get them.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, you when you get to the point where you don't. How can I explain it? It's like you get to a point where you don't, because for me, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I couldn't do well without being like all in. Like I'm a pretty fun guy. Like I like to have fun, but I couldn't have fun in the sense of going out or whatever it may be and still run well. I just couldn't do it. I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And you've done it for so many years that it's like, there's a point where life has to kind of start and you just need some kind of change.
And I had kids. Remember, at that point, I had two sons. So I had to start thinking about, I'll tell you like this. My last Olympic trials,
2012.
2012.
I watched that race today.
So that 2012, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I used to lead races all the time. But by the time 2012 came,
I was going to bring that up. Yep. Yeah, it was you and Nick in the back.
Yeah. And then we end up getting, first and second. But my point is, that trials, I didn't even have my wife and my kids come. And the reason was because I wasn't able to have them there and really focus them. Because in 2008, I only had one son, as it was Zion, and my wife and Zion came. And I don't think I handled that well, because I had, when you got a kid, man, you got a wife, you got to, I mean, you got to give them attention. I mean, even in the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
Even at the trials, you got to, like, they want to eat something. You at the trials and you got this routine and you like, okay, all I eat is rice and chicken. And, your wife and they like, I don't want to eat rice and chicken every day. And you're like, well, this is what I do. I like to eat the same thing every day, all day.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then the 12, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to think about, what they might want to eat or, what time to go to sleep. So so the point I'm making is it comes to a point where you cannot continue to be that selfish.
Yeah.
Because to be a champion and a winner,
you have to be selfish.
You have to be selfish.
Yeah. And we got to all be grateful that, you have a spouse who allowed you to be, selfish and saw that you had the ability when, was cool with that. Obviously, she knew who you were when she married you, but still, like you said, it does come to a point. You're now getting into the twilight of your career and, the foot starts stamping a little bit harder. Like, hey, come on. When you're just going to come be a family man now, it. And I think we all hit that. Like, me and Dave obviously aren't, as skilled as you, but we do this. We take time out of our nights to do this once a week. And it takes good spouses to sit there and be like, if the kid wakes up, I'm going to take care of him. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot. It does. And the dedication is pretty incredible, obviously.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
go ahead, Dave.
Speaking of 2012, you're at the Olympics. Were you able to stay and watch that final? Because to me, that is considered one of the greatest 800-meter races ever run.
Yeah. It was. It probably was the greatest 800-meter race ever.
I mean,
ran.
you had 5 guys under 143 because I think Simmons was at 5th in like 142. And obviously, I mean, David Rudisha, I've just watched him run all the time, and I was just in awe of him. And you don't usually see that kind of race in the Olympics because there's no rabbit.
There's no rabbit, yeah, man.
But so what was it like just being there and seeing him just go for it and everyone just kind of follow suit? That had to be a pretty amazing to have a front row seat for.
Funny story. Well, David Rudisha was actually in a plane crash today, and I think he's doing well. Yeah.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah, I think he's all right though. So
I didn't hear that.
Keep him in our prayers. But
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe it was yesterday or today, one of those. But either way, yeah, man. What I actually did, I knew that race was going to be crazy fast because Rudisha used to tell Kenya. The Kenyans back then, they was interesting because they would tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah, he was open about it. He said, "I'm going for the world record."
Yeah, I'm going. I'm going, guys. If you want to come. If not, And so, Kaki, who I was pretty cool with, who was from Sudan, and some of those other guys, and they were, they was gonna go with them. It's just the way the guy from Ethiopia, and then Amos was a youngster then, but he had been running well, so you knew what was coming, and I had my whole family, my wife, and at the time I had both my sons, Zion and Ishmael, there. And to be quite honest with you, man, I couldn't stomach it. So I took my family. We left London and we took a train out to Brussels. And I had ironically enough, I have a college friend, Joanne, who I went to TCU with. Her and her husband, great guy, great family. They was living in Brussels, and Brussels is one of my favorite places in Europe. And we stayed with them. And I remember watching it. I remember watching it from a little cafe type spot. It was and I was sitting out there and I was watching it on TV. And I knew it was gonna be. I was sitting there shaking because I was just nervous and scared. And I really wanted. I wanted Dwayne and Nick to medal, man.
They got 4th and 5th.
I know, ain't that some shit?
They
ran
there,
142. Man. Yeah,
and they were closing, man. And that race was just insane.
I know. That's kind of my story,
What a great time that you had to be part of track and field. So many amazing runners, and what a great era.
So I have a question for you, Khadevis, because you competed against the former 800-meter world record holder, Wilson Kipketer, later in his career. And then you competed against David Rudisha, kind of in the peak of his career. I guess, really the only knock against Wilson Kipketer, if you can knock the man, is he never won an Olympics. He was a world champion, but he never won Olympics. David Rudisha did it all while he was there. He was dominant, which, the guy just ran a certain style. What was the main difference from your perspective between Wilson and David? Like, what kind of set them apart?
I think Rhodesia was just more naturally talented than everybody. He's tall. He can run he can run a fast 400.
Yeah.
He came out running fast. He was brave enough to go and do it, and just, everything just aligned themselves. Kip Keeter, to be quite honest with you, if you really want to be honest, Kip Keeter's probably when you put everything into play, the greatest 800-meter runner. Not, Rhodesia is the best, the greatest, because he broke the world record. He ran those fast times more times, and he won a double Olympic and double world championships and all that. But man, if you ever watch Kip Keeter run, it looked like poetry in motion, man.
Yeah,
it just looked like it. You would think it could look like he was floating, and he would do stuff, and it was unfreaking real. But it didn't seem like he dominated you without dominating you. I don't know how to say it.
Kip Keeter, he reminded me of like El Garouge was in the 15 and the 5. They were just so, like, they just found ways, talented, but like they were so gutsy, and they always found a way to get it done. They were both just one of my favorite runners to watch.
If you watch Kip Keeter's 141 or whatever, and you watch Rhodesia's 141s or 140, when you watch them, yeah, like you watch them, Rhodesia's coming through the first 4 cruising was because he was so fast, meaning he could run a 44 or 45 or whatever. So he was coming through them long strides, long legs, and he was just on the gas just a slightly.
Yep.
But it was because he was so fast. Kip Keeter would be coming through, and you looking at him, and he would just be cruising.
He'd be floating.
He'll come through fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He'd be so smooth, you couldn't tell it was fast, right? But it was fast, right? And he was running fast, because it ain't like he was running the 44. And so it was just, one time we saw Kip Keeter doing weights a day or two before the meet, like doing some stuff. And Kip Keeter stuff was like some out of a mythical book or something. I don't even know how to explain it. Yeah, seriously. You just watch his races, and he's running. Think about it. The guy ran 142.60 or something crazy indoors without a rabbit.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it was 2 days after, a day or two after he ran 143.
And those indoor tracks were not as fast as the indoor tracks now.
No, nowhere near.
Rabbit.
Nowhere near.
143, come back 146 cruising, then come back 142.60. Unreal.
Yeah, so, he was so smooth.
Do you have any names for us right now that you see kind of on the horizon that we may not know about in, American 800-meter running middle distance that we should be looking out for coming up on the up and coming right now?
No, I think the guys that's there, I think Clayton Murphys and Donovan Baziers and Isaiah Harris's, and I keep forgetting my boy name who's from Texas who went to Kansas. What's his name? I don't know why I went blank, but anyway, those guys, that's a heck of I think, nowadays with the way things are set up, I think we're in good hands. It's just so competitive right now. I think guys and girls, if you want to be one of the best, you have to be all in. I just really believe there's no easy routes. And if you want to have a long career, you better be all in. It's just, that's the game now. You see people that win something and then 2 years later they retired, man.
Yeah.
So
no, it's the longevity. Now, are you surprised that we don't see as many 142s on a consistent basis that we did maybe when you were running? It seems like, and it could be for many things. Maybe the pandemic kind of, put a halt to everyone's training. But I felt like this year we didn't see as many of those really fast times, even in the Diamond League. Like, we didn't see those dominant, like, sub 143 times as much as we have maybe in the past.
Yeah, man. Think about it. You got to. All of that comes out of being hungry. In other words, you got a lot of guys that if they didn't, if they wasn't running or if they didn't run well, what else were they going to do? Does that make sense? It's like they were running, Johnny, Johnny and I are close and we talk all the time. I hope you don't. I say, man, how you run so fast and so well for so long? He said, I had to. I said, what do you mean? He said, I had kids, I had a family and kids. This is how I pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is, I think there was a time in which this is how people had to run fast because this is what they did. This is their option. Whereas now I think that there's more people that they have other things to fall back on. And so maybe they don't push as much. I don't know.
Or, there's more money involved in certain things like appearance.
Other things. Yeah.
So the one last thing we have to ask you before we go, Khadevis, we've asked a lot of our guests this. I want to ask you, how the hell do we get track and field to stick in America? Me and Coach Hyatt are trying to do our part here to kind of bring a light, have guests like you on. Hopefully have other great guests. We would love to have like Johnny Dwayne, anyone else, coming on to come talk to us. But it's like, how do we do it? The Diamond League is the Diamond League, but it's not big on America. We had the ATL, but, it was it wasn't, it didn't have many of the big names. So what are we going to do? Because there was a time where, if you were a runner, when I was growing up, we wanted to be Khadevis Robinson in middle distance. You know what I mean? Like, but runners did, not everyone. So, do you have an idea of how do we grow this sport in America? What can we possibly do?
Well, here's what you got to do. You got to have events. They can't just be track and field events. They have to be full-fledged events, right? And so, what do I mean by that? So, if you have a meet, you got to build it around other things also. So, for instance, if you're in LA, if you're in New York, if you're in Atlanta, if you're in Miami, if you're in all these places, think about it. If there's a track and field event going on, it goes back to me talking about TCU. To go to TCU, you have to pass up so many other places and choose TCU. Okay, if you're in Miami, if you're in LA, and there's a track meet going on, and they're charging $50, you have to pass up a lot of other stuff that you would say, okay, this is going to be $30, but I'm going to pay $50 to go do a track meet, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same on TV. There's a lot of other good entertaining things on TV. So you would have to choose to pass up those things to watch track and field. Therefore, track and field has to be entertaining. Secondly, it needs to be a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
We know Saturdays are college football. We know, and then we know what we're going to get. Even if it's a consistent schedule in basketball, we might know, okay, Zion Williamson's going to be playing for Duke, right? Problem with track and field is you don't know. You don't know if the guys, especially on the pro level, is he going to run this race? If he's not going to run this race, if he does run, what he's going to run?
We've mentioned that many times.
Contracts. Yeah, so we need contracts on these major programs.
Yeah, you gotta build some that's consistent. Then you gotta make it make sense. What do I mean by that? Well, I remember years ago, Michael Johnson, when he first ran that 19.3, I had a friend say, "Man, that's fast," and I looked at him like, "You're darn right, it's fast. It's beyond fast." He kind of didn't get it right. So people know when they see a 360 dunk that's amazing. People know when they see a kickoff return, it's amazing. But when they see a fast 100-meter runner that runs, 9.9, and then runners run 9.8 and runners run 9.7, the average Joe Blow, it looks the same to them, right?
Yeah.
Or 10.1. Yeah. So we have to get it to a point where they are knowledgeable about what's going on. We have to get the novice fan in it, meaning we have to get them involved in it. And that's not as hard as people think. We just work in silos. It's like for track and field in particular become more popular, we can't work in silos. We have to work in a way that it's a win-win for everyone, not just the people that's winning, holding on to them winning. It has to be a win for everyone. Mm-hmm. So you get the sponsors involved with the kids, and you get the high. What I'm saying is you put events on in which it draws a more diverse crowd, and then you build around that crowd. Right. And then you get a consistent theme, meaning you might. Listen. Why don't we have track club, track leagues? Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's say we have Team Florida, Team LA, Team Florida, Team California, Team Texas, whatever. And then during the summer season, during the season, so from March to August, you have a meet every weekend. And Team Texas has, 2 representatives, 3 representatives, men and women for each event. Right. So for the 800, for whatever event, and then you have a competition, you take score, and you have like you score it, like you have. And now you say, well, Texas. So now every week, now the next week, so this week it was Team Texas against Team Florida, but then next week it might be Team Texas against Team Pennsylvania and playing Florida against Team Ohio or whatever, right? Or you can have 3 teams, it don't matter, and then you do a league, and then you know what I'm saying? You make it so that now the average Joe Blow who lives in Ohio, he wants to look because he feels like he has a connection to Ohio or the 10K, and you have every event.
I like that.
So this person that did the discus in high school. Now she might not want to watch the event, but she goes, "Oh, I did the discus in high school, and Team Iowa is playing, and this little girl is doing the discus, and now she want to watch the discus because she did the discus in high school from Iowa." You follow me? So now
what you're saying is you want a more promoted, well put together version of Tracktown USA, because it's similar to what they tried to do there, but it wasn't greatly promoted.
American Track League too, I feel is trying that, but the other issue too is like we don't have many track and field only facilities here in America. Like we have Eugene, but like you go over to Europe and there's stadiums that are just for track.
But that's fixable. That's not.
Of course it is. Absolutely.
Think about it. Think about it this way. What cities, big cities in particular, wouldn't benefit from a major good track and field facility? They all 100%. Would. All of them. 100% of them.
Yep.
It would be packed. You build a good indoor-outdoor facility for the city. It would be packed. And matter of fact, you could put on events every weekend in the summer, and it would make money easily.
Ocean Breeze, the Armory.
Well,
it's not even
Icon. They kill it.
We live in New York and Jersey, and he was saying like we have the Armory, we have Ocean Breeze for indoors, we have
Icon for
Stadium. The Penn Relays was one of my favorite things to ever go to every single year. Yeah, because it had pros and it had high school kids.
What I'm saying is it can be done. It just takes, it takes the mindset of win-win. If you do it just like I just stated, right? And then you bring in sponsors, and then you get grants and you get stuff because the way you can do it is you can promote diabetes prevention. You can promote health and wellness. Like you get into other arenas when you start talking about running and being physically fit.
Iron deficiency is a huge thing for distance runners.
Oh, forget about it. For distance, you can. I mean, it would actually. The crazy thing about it is, it could make money too.
Hell yeah!
Like it's a win-win. I'm 100% certain of it. But yet you have to have a win-win mindset because there's the people that's winning now have to not get in the way to keep it from happening because they don't want everybody else to win.
Do you think it'll be hard to convince these athletes to stay and do events here in America when they could possibly get more over traveling over to Europe? Because I think we have the stars that are present here, like Noah Lyles and Sidney McLaughlin, who can really market the sport.
I guarantee you 100% that if you ask them, would you prefer to make $10,000 or $100,000 here or overseas? 90% of the time, and 90% of athletes would prefer to be here just because they have families and they want to be able to be sent. Yeah, they still want to go to Europe at first because there is some novelty about it when you haven't been.
Yep. Right.
But after a while, I'm not asking that circuit I told you about is just the basic circuit. You still got to have the world championships and the Olympics and stuff like that. And then the Brussels and the Monacos and the Zurichs. Remember, those are not like track meets. Those are events.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're able, the reason they're able to get 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 is because they plan that junk all year. They plan for the world-class Zurich meet, and they have all sorts of things that go on around that. It ain't just a track meet. But even as a track meet, you're bringing in the best in the world.
Yep.
And you're having them come and sign autographs and go by the schools and put on clinics. And so it's an event. And it's been going on for years. And so now somebody it's just like you being at a house, TCU, you were a kid and your dad take you to the TCU football game, right? Well, this is what they do. They start going to world class, they start going to Monaco, and they start going to Berlin, they start going to Brussels, and they start going to Paris when they're like, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it's just something for them and their dad and the mom and to go to together.
Yeah.
And you just do it it's doable. And the money would be there and the sponsors would be there, but you have to make it worth the sponsors' while.
Khadevis, we need your voice on this. We love it. We got it here. And your idea is beautiful, and we need more people. Anyone with a deep pocket listening, connections to sponsorships, let's get it going. American track needs to be put on the forefront because I don't care what anybody says. We have the deepest group of track athletes on the planet, and we can prove it by having the best
track and field. Let me say this. Let me say this real quick before we go.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I believe this, not because I am trying to necessarily promote track or talk a lot or whatever. But I want you to think about this. Track and field in the world is the most amazing sport in the world. Now you're gonna people gonna say, now I'm gonna tell you why though. I'm not gonna just say a blanket statement. I'm gonna tell you why. What other sport in the world will you have? You can have small as a gymnast. Like the smallest gymnast. I mean, I was amazed when I went to the Olympics and I met Gabby Douglas because she could be in elementary school. She was so tiny, but she can flip and turn and jump in the whole nine. But then at the same time, you got somebody as big as Christian, Cantwell and Adam Nelson, who's 300 and some pounds, are just powerful, and it's all the same sport. Track and field is the only sport, or one of the only sports, that everyone has a place. Yeah. You can be as tiny as a distance runner, or as big as a football player and a shot putter, and there's a place for you. No matter your skill set, you can be slow and be good. You can be fast and be good. You can be big and be good. You can be skinny and be good. You can be tall and be good. You can be short and you can be good. There's no discrimination in it. It ain't like you got basketball. They all got to be tall. No. That's not the place in track and field. And then you got a large population of track and field athletes that, a good amount of them, finish school. You can interview them. A lot of them, are well spoken about the fitness aspect of it, the health and wellness aspect of it. Most of them have a story. It's a team sport. I mean, it's a team dynamic, but it's an individual sport. What I'm saying is, it's a place for everybody. And it's so diverse. What other sport is as diverse as track and field? None. I'm gonna tell you the answer right now.
Not at all.
None.
So Khadevis, I love it.
I can go. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm just I just get too excited, guys. We gotta do this again.
Okay, Coach.
We do too. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Just hearing your perspective and your positivity and your enthusiasm for this wonderful sport that we all love. And I wish you nothing but the best at TCU, and any athlete who goes and has 3 minutes with you is going to be signing on the down line. I'm ready to go put on running shoes now and go for a jog. This has been absolutely tremendous. I mean, we can't thank you enough.
Yeah. Coach, I kind of cut you off.
Yeah,
I cut you off. Anything else you want to say before we go? Sorry, Coach.
Yeah, next time we'll get the recording right. I'll be in a better place with better internet, and we can really dive deep into this, because this is something beside this ain't something I'm just talking about because I'm a track coach at TCU. This is something I've been thinking. I have a great idea, and when you and I get to talk another time, I'm gonna shoot those ideas out there, and I know you guys are gonna think it's fascinating.
We would love
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It was not.
Thanks for having me on, and we'll talk next time, guys.
Yeah, I love it. I love having Khadevis on. You were amazing as always. We'll have you on. We'll see if we can get some more big track minds along with yourself we'll do a little roundtable, and we can all kind of sit here and talk and see if we can get some traction on it, some more people listening, so we can get something going here, because I think we need to have a bunch of good ideas. Some of the track minds jump in here and really be heard on ideas of how to get this going. Because like I said, our main goal with this podcast we did is me and Coach love talking about track and field. He's one of the only people I know that we constantly text when meets are on. Did you see this? Did you see that? And it's kind of like, hey, track people don't get enough of their story told. They don't get to hear it. And like you mentioned it, Khadevis, everyone has a story. 95% of them are unique. We've had guest after guest after guest, and every story has been fantastic. We had Ian Hahn, who's one of my good friends, ran at Penn State, really good runner there, had a great story. And we just keep on having them. And you're one of those as well. Coach, it was a pleasure having you. For everyone, again, Khadevis Robinson, director of track and field at Texas Christian University. Go look the man up. Go watch some of his races. I know we mentioned Wilson Kipketer's Poetry in Motion. Go watch some of Khadevis's races. You'll see some poetry as well, and heart and hard
perfect
work.
sonnet. Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Coach, thanks again so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Look forward to talking to you later.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.